Back in the fall of 1968, I had just started working at Kings Island, an amusement park in my hometown. At first it was just a normal fresh out of high school job for me, but that quickly turned into one of the most fucked up and disturbing things that I ever experienced. It was October 29th, the opening day of our Halloween Horror Nights. At 9 p.m. all the demons, ghouls, and monsters get released into the park to terrify the guests. You can walk through the terrifying mazes that strike so much fear into people that they go mentally insane. Or at least that's what the commercials for this place say. But anyways, I woke up in the afternoon, got dressed and headed to work. I had gotten there early, so I waited in the break room until I could clock myself in. I started to doze off as I was writing a letter to one of my friends until a loud man's voice behind me startled me awake. "Hi Miranda," the man said. I turned around to see who it was, and it was Robert, one of my coworkers who's not really all there in the head, if you know what I mean. I heard from another coworker that before he started working here he was admitted to an insane asylum after attempting to stab one of his imaginary friends. "Today is such a beautiful day," he said, even though it was really cloudy and gloomy outside. "Yeah, I guess the weather is nice," I said, in hopes of that being the only thing he said to me, then he'd leave me alone. I went back to looking at my phone, so he'd take that hint that I don't really want to talk. Then I heard slow footsteps behind me. I assumed he left, so I got up to go clock in for my shift, and I saw Robert just standing in front of the punch machine staring at it. So I asked if I could use the machine, and he didn't answer, but he took a couple steps away and continued to stare at the machine. I put my time card in, typed in my employee numbers, then took my ride operator keys and walked towards the door. I opened the door, and before I could even take one step out, Robert said, "Miranda, prepare yourself for the gate that opens today." Then he sprinted out of the break room. I thought nothing of it, since he says some outlandish stuff pretty often. If no one else is concerned about what he says, then why should I be? I made my way over to Pharaoh's Revenge, which is always my ride unless they're doing routine maintenance on it. Daytime flew by after hours of me letting guests on and off, making sure seatbelts were fastened and lap bars were locked. It wasn't until nighttime that things took a turn for the worst. The only worker running the ride with me told me she needed to make a call and she'd be back soon. So I continued to do my thing as I waited for her to come back. As I waited for the coaster to come back, I looked at the line and only saw 6 people, which is weird since this ride is always packed no matter the time of day. But something was off with these people. Their necks are twisted and they're all staring at the person behind one another with no expression on their faces. I may smoke a lot, but I know for a fact what I was seeing. I rubbed my eyes and convinced myself that I was just tired, and when I opened my eyes again, they were all facing forward but still just coldly staring at the person in front of them. I heard the coaster pulling back in, and when it came to a stop I let everyone off and opened the gate for the next set of people to get on. No one who got off seemed to notice the eerie line of blank human beings waiting to be let on. As the next group started boarding, none of them spoke. The only thing I could hear was the noises from the park, from the openings where the coaster comes in and out of the station. Laughs, screams, other rides, all the sounds of a busy amusement park. But in here it's silent. At this point, I'm creeped out and want to get these people out of here as soon as possible. I was making sure all the seatbelts were fastened and no one said a word to me or moved a muscle until I got to the last man in the back. He was dressed in all black, and while still staring forward he hands me what looks like an undeveloped Polaroid picture. I put it in my pocket without asking questions, and went back to my operator's booth. I began to read the safety instructions, since I'm supposed to before every ride. When I finished I took one more look at the passengers and almost had a heart attack when I saw all of them staring right at me. I've never pressed the start ride button that fast in my life. I didn't know what to do. I just wanted to run out of the park and never come back again. I was scared and confused about what was going on. On top of that, my coworker still hasn't came back yet after what felt like hours, but I took some deep breaths and managed to calm myself down enough to realize that it was completely quiet. I didn't hear anything from outside anymore other than my coaster on its tracks. No laughing or screaming, no other rides moving, none of that. What was just a busy filled with fright and joy theme park is now a silent ghost town. I ran outside to see if I was going crazy or if it was really this quiet, and I didn't see anyone. Not one person in sight. Where did everybody go? Am I dreaming? Is this some kind of twisted nightmare? I asked myself aloud. I ran back inside to my operator's booth, slammed and locked the door behind me, then pulled down the shutter to cover the booth opening. Every 15 minutes I hear the coaster fly through the station, yet every time it passes it's getting aggressively faster. It sped up to the point of being able to fly through the station every few seconds. I began to panic. I didn't know how to feel. Fear and anxiety overtook my mind and body. Thoughts raced through my head, so many questions that I couldn't fathom an answer to. Finally, the coaster slows down to its normal speed, then pulls back into the station. I was trembling while I struggled to lift myself up enough to take a peek through the shutter. What I saw will forever haunt me. Soulless, pale white, limp dead bodies were the only things occupying the carts. 6 people who were just alive are now lifeless bodies. I couldn't take it anymore. I ran as fast as I could out of the station, through the park, and past the main gates. I made a break for it to my car, and got in thinking that this hell on earth was finally over. "You made it," said a demonic voice from behind me. I turned around to see Robert in my back seat looking out the window. "How did you get in here and what the fuck is happening?" I angrily yelled. "Miranda, I warned you. I told you about the gate opening. You're the only other vessel capable of connecting the worlds that we live in and the world that my friends live in. I had to use you to connect myself with long-lost friends of mine. They all died 20 years ago in a fire, and I was the only survivor. I haven't seen them since. But now that I harnessed your energy and mixed it with mine, I get to travel through worlds all I want, and now you're no longer needed," he explained. "Look at the picture that Billy gave you," he said before vanishing into thin air. I quickly took my jacket off and hesitantly pulled out the Polaroid from the front pocket. The image was fully developed and it was a photo of my coaster station, yet it was on fire. Everything was covered by flames. All 6 people were still on the ride, but their necks were twisted backwards, looking at the body behind one another. I looked at the 7th seat, the last cart, and saw my body burned, decayed, and lifeless.